Organissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.organissima.com. Organissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, the NBC Network, with your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show, new topic. We're in the new year. And, in New Year's, we've talked in the last couple of days, we've had a couple of shows and we've talked about, New Year resolutions and hope and everything that we can do to make change their life. And people always go through different things in their life. And today's show is probably a great show for us making that transition and change, no matter what's going on in our life. In the past, today is a new day, new leaf, new page in our chapter, and we can write whatever we want. And I think that message is very big for all of us watching. And it's also a good, thing for all of us. Me personally, I listen to this, and the more I hear about it, the more it gives me the motivation and inspiration to do more and be better and not look back, rather look forward, and it's a brighter world ahead of us, hopefully, right? But my guest today is going to help us and drive and drill some of that and really give us some insights through his experiences over the time. And I mean, he's been through a lot, and, for good and bad, I would say, a lot of things, but he is taking all that expertise of his and all the bad stuff and the good stuff that he's, gone through. He's changed it where he's helping people today. And we're going to talk about that today. So with me, without any further ado, I have Charles Smith with me, and he is assisting people with addiction today. But before he was doing that, he's also a veteran. So salutes and greetings and thank you for all your work and service.
Thank you, Hurricane.
Anytime. And really, we'll talk about that too, because I know you've gone through some stuff throughout your, experience in the military and back beyond that. So first things first, who is Charles Smith? And let's talk about that. You also have some books. We'll talk about those later, but let's talk about your story from the beginning, because I mean, it started way, way back when. Let's talk about that.
Yep. My story started probably from my womb. I was like 3 years old when my father lost everything. He had multiple nursing homes, land all around the Worcester, Massachusetts area. And one day everything went up, like he just lost everything. No one knows how. I even researched it, and all it says is that it changed hands. And my grandfather built a duplex, and if I could look through this wall, I could see the duplex that he built. So we would have a place to live. A couple of years after that, my mother, she dealt with depression and anxiety and addiction, and she passed away from mixing alcohol and pills. She had an overdose. Then a little bit after that, my father moved me and my sister around to Connecticut, to Texas, to Arizona. I lived on a Navajo reservation in Arizona. I lived on the border of Mexico in a place called Van Horn, Texas, where my father passed away. And all of this is in my first memoir, 10 Homes in 11 Years. And when my father passed away, like I said, we were in Van Horn, Texas. And we were in a dirt poor house. Like, we had literally a concrete floor in our bathroom. We had a Our couch was a booth from a restaurant. Our clothes were not in dressers; they were in cardboard boxes. Um, the list goes on and on. Our TV stand was a one of those TV trays that you would put your food on to watch TV on. That was our TV stand. One morning I woke up and me and my father shared a bed, a twin, full size bed that didn't even have a mattress. I mean a box spring. It just had the mattress. And I woke up and my father was making coffee. And from what one of the other podcasters told me is it was a death aura. I woke up and I seen like a weird glow to him, and I had a weird feeling. And I just went up to him. I hugged him. Now, I was 11 years old at this time, 10, 11. And I walked up to him. I hugged him. I said, I want to stay home from school. And he said, no, you've missed a lot of school because of all the moving around and stuff. I went through second grade twice. And after that, I went into my bathroom and I shoved my finger down my throat because I wasn't going to school. I proved to him that I was sick. So I said, okay, you can stay home. And then we drove my sister to school, and I remember going to the store with him just to get some odds and ends, milk and bread or whatever. And at that time, he passed out on me in the store. Now, my father was a diabetic, and the store clerk knew him and gave him some orange juice to revive him enough to drive us home. Once we got home, he passed out on me again. And I ran over to my neighbor's. I knew my neighbor didn't work. She was a stay-at-home mom. And we rushed him to the hospital. And that's where he died when I was standing there right with him, and we were holding hands, and he passed away.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were 11 years old at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure that vision is still there. You still can see that moment. And again, I mean, just thus far what you've stated, I mean, it's so deep, and there's a lot of stuff in there. And for someone at that age to take it all, I mean, there's a blessing in a way because you are young and you have plenty of time to actually maybe forget, but you don't forget these things. I mean, we think that that's what happens. We all can kind of remember our childhood, well enough. And it's like yesterday for all of us. I actually do remember when I was 10 and a few events that happened to me personally. But, it is still a very young age where something like this can have very, very impactful level stuff to anyone, right?
Oh, yeah.
And knowing you lost your mom first, that's in itself can trigger trauma. And then now you've gone through all this change in life. And again, you went from, having everything when you were born to a lot of stuff that was gone. And again, not to a fault of yours, but this can happen to anyone. And unfortunately, life is not predictable the way we think it is. And today we're doing great, tomorrow is not guaranteed, and vice versa. Today could be the worst, and then tomorrow can be better, right? I think today we will hopefully turn the tide and show that no matter what happens, and this was just the beginning for you, but there's so much stuff that happened beyond that. Because again, I'm sure at 11, when you lost your dad, things just didn't get up to where they need to be for a child at 11, right? It was
no, not at all.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that. And again, my heart is really like, I mean, I just can think about this. It's difficult to even comprehend or get around it, because it's not an easy thing to swallow just to understand this. I mean, I have to say your story can be in a movie. I mean, to really enrich some of the minds, because I mean it's deep. It's not and again, there's many of a similar situation. We just don't know all of them. And today we have, I guess we're lucky to hear this in a way, because for people watching and listening, for those that are that have things in life, they should be grateful because, unfortunately we take things for granted. And for those that may not have or less fortunate, your next part of the life, can actually give them the hope and the, I guess the stamina to change life and be better and turn around for what it's worth. Right. So,
Right.
and I appreciate you sharing this. I mean, because this is personal but it is powerful stuff. When you look at it, you were at an early age really facing some real severe trauma, and you might go through it, but that stuff stays with you mentally, psychiatry wise. I mean, this stuff has an impact. So who took care of you once your dad passed?
Well, once my father passed, my sister's best friend, her family took us in for a couple of days until my grandfather could get my uncle down to Van Horn, Texas from here, Massachusetts, to bring us back here. And it's a good thing that my family up here didn't have the name Smith. We were Italian, so it was a little easier to find. So I guess a cop looked up the name Lorenzo, which is my family name, up in Massachusetts, and got a hold of my grandfather's brother. And then my grandfather's brother called my grandfather, and he sent us down. He sent my uncle down. My uncle came and got us and brought us back. Then I lived with my aunt and uncle, actually in the house that I'm in now. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And my sister, talking about remembering a lot, I actually blocked a lot out. My sister, when I was writing 10 Homes in 11 Years, I was talking to her, asking her about like our childhood and stuff like that. And she told me, do you remember when we first came home and you didn't speak for like 6 months? I'm like, what?
Wow.
Yeah. She's like, yeah, you didn't even talk to me. I'm like, oh my God.
You didn't speak, or you just, you were just, you just didn't want to talk to people, or you lost your speech?
I guess from what she tells me, I didn't speak to anybody. Like I didn't lose my speech. I just didn't want to talk to anybody.
You basically collapsed on yourself, and that's it.
Yeah.
You just became, wow.
Yeah. And after that, I became really vengeful, like towards
everything and everybody.
Everything and everybody, towards God. I have there's a podcast out there from Joey Pence called God's Guinea Pig, because that's how I felt growing up. Like, let's see what else you can handle. Let's throw this at him. See what you can do with this. Mm-hmm. That's how I felt. And I just felt really vengeful, and it's weird. I was talking to a couple of my friends back in August of this year. One of my childhood friends passed away of cancer, and we got to see him in Burlington, Vermont before he passed. A couple of us old friends went up to see him, and I asked a friend of mine what I was like when I grew up, when I was, when I came home and everything. And he told me that I was looking for family. And, my friends were my family.
Well, again, first of all, I just want to say this. I mean, I'm not, a doctor, and I can't, but just as a person to person, and also as a father, you were at that age. I mean, you did not understand a lot of things about life, and and nobody does at that age. I mean, we're not even actually. I had a show with one of the best doctors in the world in terms of psychiatry, and he had mentioned that most of the people don't even find their identity until they're in the 30s, right? That's actually a fact. And so prior, I mean, at that age, we don't even know what we are, who we are, and you're right. I mean, your reaction, it was just a natural thing. You just lost your mom, you lost your dad. Now you live in with your, your aunt and uncle, and the world is not fair at that point, right? And yeah, I mean, you
Right,
had,
right.
and it is a tough place to be. And I'm sure the impact, was beyond, and that was your reaction, right? First, you didn't want to talk to anybody. And then you're like, of course, like, why God, why me? It's a
Mm,
very common question that a lot of people do. Now, obviously with faith, that changes the dynamics. But at that age, without being placed in that faithful, type of environment, you're not going to have that to start with. So therefore, your reaction will be like, why, right? And unfortunately, that's fact, and people sometimes do that. And then we've seen it. I mean, we see some realities or some movies, they actually kind of do that, depict that. But really, the idea
yeah,
is this is real stuff. This is not a movie, not a script. This is somebody whose life just been kind of decimated, and at an early age, not idea what's going on, right? Now, so you were looking. You said you were seeking friends, because that's your family, or at least your friends were your family.
yeah, yeah.
Why? What? Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that you had a good relationship with your aunt and uncle and the blood family versus just the other family that was just your friendship. Was there anything where that didn't materialize properly?
That was challenging because my father was kind of my mother's enabler,
Mhm.
and my family struggled with the fact that I was my father's son.
Got it. Okay, so there was that.
So yeah, there was that. So I went through that too, growing, coming back and growing up in their house and stuff like that. It wasn't easy, you know.
Well, again,
Um,
it is. It's never going to be easy. I mean, you would think that your family, your uncle and aunt, I mean, could be your, second parents and close to your parents.
yeah,
But in
oh
the
yeah,
case, you have, there was also that because your mom was gone already, and the resentment was there, and I guess that just took that place, and you became just the son of your dad, and therefore that didn't play correctly. But I mean, in a way, they took you in. That's a good thing. But I guess that was not the feeling, that the love you wanted was not apparently there, right? At least that's what I'm getting from here.
yeah, not exactly. I mean, I got love, I got love, but it wasn't, like it was a
You,
tough upbringing. Let's just say it was a tough upbringing, and I mean, my uncle, my grandfather, and I look back on it now, and they all did the best they could for me, given the situation.
again, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, at that age, you would not know what was happening. I mean, to your point, now you can like look back and say, "Oh, well, they did this, they did that," but it was just, and I'm sure also, in a way, you also probably rebellious for whatever reason, and therefore that also is not an easy. I mean, anybody who's an adult taking in children, if they're not responsive and they're not actually cooperating, it becomes a very difficult. Even your own kids, right?
yeah,
We
yeah.
see that, so it's very difficult. And again, uh, were you able to seek any help at that age, or were you able to even be, taken to places where you can like maybe see a specialist, for youth and kids,
Yeah,
psychiatrists?
my family did bring me to psychiatry
Okay.
and specialists, and that actually almost kept me out of the military
Oh wow. Okay.
because of yeah.
Because it was
That was
registered, recorded for against you.
yeah, yep.
Wow. Now let me ask you. I know I've read something about a suicide attempt. Was that in that particular phase, or that was something beyond that? After that?
That was after that. That was after the military.
Okay. Oh, we're gonna
Yeah,
we're gonna go there in shortly. So
mhm.
now you were 11. You were taken in. So you went to school. I'm assuming, struggled through that
Yep,
whole
yep,
thing, and then
yep.
when did you decide to actually go to the military? And by the way, did you get into trouble in between that? I mean.
I did. I got into a lot of trouble between that. I
I'm sorry, I'm asking those tough questions, but and I think
no, it's okay.
the story is going to change because who you became today is
Yeah,
really what we'd like the message to be. And no matter what happened, hopefully people don't have to go through this, and maybe even prevent some of the stuff from happening if we can share with them some of the things maybe they could have done differently. But there are things you could not change. You could not determine anything about your dad or your mom and how it all played. but there are certain things that you probably could have done different. Maybe you can share with some insights with us. But also,
Oh yeah.
regardless of what happened, you turn things, and now you have people in front of you that you're helping yourself. And I'm sure you give them some advice, and we'll get to that as well. So now you got into trouble, which again, you're a teenager at this point. You probably are going to be just a tough cookie and really, getting, it's amazing because you got to take that out, right? That whole negative, that's experience you had, you're going to take it on people and you become a rebel. And that's just sometimes how it plays. Good things. I hope that nobody got hurt and you found the military. Now, was that actually right off at high school type or, you went beyond?
I was 20. I was battling addiction hard at that time. And my aunt told me to, I was at 20. I was battling addiction hard. Crack cocaine, and I was drinking and smoking pot and all that. But my aunt told me, get out, get a job, and they'll come back. Because I would have told my kid the same thing at that time because of the situation, And so I went out and I joined the military. I joined the Army Infantry.
Okay.
And I went back to her and I told her I'll be gone in a month. I just joined the military. And I had tried to join a year before that, and that's when I got denied. Because of my mental health when I was a kid. And when I went back the second time, I didn't tell anybody about it. So they didn't even look it up.
So, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a technicality. I mean, we can pause on that one for a minute. That is a tough one because
you can edit that out.
well, I mean, think about it, right? You were going through all this, and now here you go with weapons and firearms, and you're going out there. You don't know. I mean, you can be. Did you actually get deployed?
I went to Cuba for 6 months. That was just hand-to-hand riot control.
Okay.
But I actually did drive Bradleys, and when you train in the infantry, you train the way that you would fight. Right. I mean, not when we're firing our weapons, we're not firing real rounds. We're firing what they call miles gear. Well, back then it was miles gear. I don't know what they use now, but it's kind of like laser tag. But
you had access to all of that, and you were actually out there, in camp and in the base and outside in the real world, right? I mean, but you had to go through the discipline training and all that boot camp and all the stuff, which I mean, I think there is some effect to that. I mean, they do drill discipline in people, and I think that's part of military. I think that did, and you cleaned up because there's no drugs, there's nothing. I mean, you would be literally top notch to actually continue, right? So,
right.
So was that a turning moment for your life, like something that can completely change at that point?
I would say that was a beginning turning point in my life.
Okay.
Yeah, because I then after that, I had a couple incidences that happened in the military. Like I was in a tank explosion.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. Imagine this is the tank.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, we do. I can.
Yeah. We had the fire out of the gun, obviously. And I had to get out of the gun, out of my driver's seat to make sure the gun was on right, which I did. And then we would fire down range. When we fired down range, it
recoil.
I think a round got stuck, and then we fired another round.
So it exploded within.
And it exploded within. And my gunner and my BC were blinded for 6 months and had severe burns on them. And then, from what they tell me, from what the bystanders tell me, I got out of the tank, the Bradley, after releasing the back ramp, got out, got my guys out, and then I just sat there like I was in a daze. And now I know that I have TBI, still traumatic brain injury from that.
Well, I think you guys are lucky to be alive. I mean, that thing blowing
Oh
up
yeah,
inside. I mean, that could have been it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, ultimately damage, is still there, but I mean, not everybody can actually state I survived, blast, in a tank, with my own, ammo. It's not something that you hear all the time, and I'm
Mm,
sure it happens. Accidents do happen in the military, but to be here and talking about it, it's just another way. I mean, it's amazing. But when you think about it, right, you've gone through a lot of stuff. I mean, in this, I mean, what are the odds, right?
yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah.
specifically, you get to have this. I mean, I can just see you're like, what the hell? I mean, I can't get a break even here, right? And
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that could
yeah.
be just additional devastation for you, and just adds to your own, personal issues right now, because now it is all happening in your mind, and you feel that, well, what's going on? I mean, you had that. You try to kind of drown into the addiction concept and stuff, and just to kind of get out of all that and kind of blank out. Didn't work. You're back into something that hopefully can change things for you, and then now you're faced with this trauma, right? And now it's physical. And now what happened after that? I mean, were you still in the military, or that was it?
I was still in the military for I think a year after that. Um, we also went to Cuba for 6 months, like I said, via control, and that was pretty hairy. And I still have like PTSD from that. My doctors tell me, like if I'm in a crowd, I literally feel like I'm caged, and I have to break out. Like I have to, like if I'm in a crowd like Walmart or something, I have to
Find
get
the
out.
space.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I gotta find a space, and
So
sometimes
elevators, subway, that's not going to
yeah,
work for
yep,
you.
nope, 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 nope,
Planes, that's not going
nope,
to. That's tough. Wow.
nope. Yeah.
But there are solutions. I mean, there's treatment for that stuff. I mean,
No, yeah, definitely. Yeah, 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 yeah.
so
And that's what I do with my books and stuff like that. I've come to learn everything that I possibly could about it once I knew I had it,
oh yeah,
which is coming up in the story.
right. Well, let's talk about riot control. We all seen what that is. I mean, you're in gear. You actually stop people from rioting and going rowdy and
Yeah,
doing stuff. But you are facing people, and you're probably hitting people, or they're hitting back, and it's. I mean, listen. I can
yeah.
I can just imagine even hitting one person, and there's blood, whatever, and all those moments, we see them in the movies, we see them on TV and the news. It doesn't look as real as when you're close to the action,
It
and and
doesn't, not
and
at
and,
all.
and the fear factor, the adrenaline that takes in, and I think while you have all the gear in the world and you're ready to face this, you're not prepared to see like really, people fighting back and hitting, or you hitting someone where you smashed them, whatever. I mean, it could be many things that can happen at that point, and your adrenaline's kicking. You don't even know what you're doing. You're surviving, right? And then
Right, right.
and that stuff stays with you. You get those images, and I mean,
Oh
believe it or
yeah.
not, I've seen accidents, and I still see those accidents in my mind. And this is not a war or anything. You just see them close when you see something, when somebody got hurt. That
Yep.
image kind of plays in your mind over and over, and it just doesn't go away. I mean, you can see them when you talk about it sometimes, and but you're in a position of very difficult, and you're also in a foreign place, and it's dude, I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm thankful and grateful that you're here, and actually that you're able to move away from all this, and still are doing what you're doing to, and you turn your life around where you can actually be a guide for other people and help them, get out of certain things, because you were able
Right.
to do it. And I think that's the biggest, lesson today, is that no matter what, all this stuff, you were able to still survive this. I mean, your survivor level is the highest level you can get. I mean, uh, how many times, right? You had to go through
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep. Yeah. I got more lives than my cat.
Well, I mean, in a way, maybe we all have some sort of destiny in this world, right? And we have some sort of mission in this world. I do believe that we all have something. We're not just here for fun, right? There is something. I mean, Depends on what religion, whatever we do have to worship. We have to do certain things depending on how you believe level is. But at the end of the day, I think we're here also to help or do. There's something that is designed for us, and we designed to do, and you don't know what that is until you do it, right? In your case, I mean, you got through all this, yet you chose to give back to help people, and you do that now. Now, you said you stayed about a year in the military after that, and then you left the military.
Well, I finished up my 3 years active duty, and then I got out of the military after that. I think that rally accident had something to do with it, and in Cuba too, because the riot control, and that was hairy. I got into a few tough binds. It's not all like you said in the movies where you're standing there and you're pushing people back. The people are pushing back at you, and it gets really, really hairy at times. Yeah, and I remember one time I was actually chased by a water buffalo. One of those big things that they used in the military to hold water.
Yeah.
One a few of the Cubans that we had in the camps, they took control of that thing, and they was I was coming in, and they had it coming right at me. I had to actually jump out of the way, or I was going to get run over. And that thing's like a ton or more.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yep.
I think I'm gonna take that thing about your cat's life. But listen, you're alive for a reason, and now you know what that reason is, and you did not know that then. You did not know that then, and and again, this is unbelievable. I mean, this is multiple things that, I mean, you cannot possibly think sometimes, like even hearing this, probably people will be like saying like, wow, that you hear stories with people that may have one incident in their life. But I mean, you just had a whole combination of all those. I mean, one after the other and from early on. And but your survivor, not just in physical format, your mental state and everything, and to be able to still get out of all of this and make a difference. And taking it to the road. I mean, you're doing this podcast now, as a drive, and you're making that change. You're helping people to see. And trust me, if someone is out there having a bad life right now, listen to this show. There is the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, whatever that is, I'm not saying, again, I can't possibly personally express it because I haven't been in the same shoes that you're in or somebody else watching or listening right now. But we have to be hopeful that things can turn around. As long as we breathe, there's hope, there's a possibility. And
exactly. Yeah.
And I think you are a true, element, a true, model for us, in terms of what could possibly happen. And by the way, no one is immune to what happened to you. And we've seen it. I mean, we had the pandemic. People did not see it coming, and boom, war happens. I mean, right now in the Ukraine, these folks didn't expect war, and they're in the middle of war, right? You don't know what's going on. Right now. Currently, China just shut down. I mean, things are just not going well there, right? So no one knows what can happen next in our lives, and no one is preparing you for those things. It doesn't matter. But it can happen to everyone. It can happen to anyone. We could lose hope. We could lose businesses. We could lose money. In your case, your father had it all, and then he lost it all. It's just the way life goes. Sometimes it's trials and tribulations, and for what it's worth, it is part of it. And we can ask the questions is why, but it just happens because everybody is destined a certain way, and depending on level of experience you have and how you deal with it. Some people. You mentioned something about, I mentioned something about thinking about taking your life away in a suicide attempt, which you said happened after the war. After the military. You had that PTSD, right? By the way, there is CPTSD, or that's the other one?
CPTSD, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So what's the main difference between those two?
My CPTSD, what PTSD is like, I'll take a civilian example. If you're in an accident and you ever like see that accident again in your mind, like you were just talking about a little while ago.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. Yep.
That sort of thing is like what we experience in PTSD. Like that could be like a flashback.
Keep seeing it over and over.
Keep seeing it over and over again, and you're actually there. In your mind, you think you're there at that moment.
Wow.
You know, when that's happening.
You relive the moment, you know, and
yep. And
so that's PTSD. But what's
and that's PTSD. What CPTSD is compounded, or sometimes called complex PTSD, and that is multiple triggers, multiple traumas.
So it's all in. I mean, it's just not one event; it's multiples, and so you have triggers that can happen at any given moment.
Yeah, and you see that a lot with first responders. You see that a lot with domestic violence. You see that a lot with military. Yeah, people that have survived trauma over and over and over and over and over again. Or for a long period of time.
So Charles, you had been diagnosed with that, right? And so what was your course of treatment? What did you do to kind of help yourself? I mean, was there any assistance from the Veterans Affairs or administration? Or
I did.
You did that on your own?
I'm currently on a medication that I take at night. But I try to use my coping skills over everything else. And I don't want to talk bad about medication, but medication can have a negative effect.
Sure. So well, I mean, it's known, it's a fact. I mean, every drug has so many potential side effects.
Yeah. Like I know a guy named Frank. He has a statue named Pillman. If you look it up, he made a human-sized statue of all the pill bottles that he got from his doctor.
Wow.
Phenomenal. Yeah, phenomenal. Yeah.
That's a lot of pills.
Yeah. Like the statue, I've seen the statue up close, and I'm 6 foot, and that thing is even with me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so and I admire what you said. I mean, you take pills because that helps, but that's not certainly the only means that you use. I mean, you do use other coping systems.
Yeah, I try to use coping skills like attending appointments for my doctor, doing all the 8 dimensions of wellness, like emotional wellness, physical wellness, soul wellness, intellectual wellness, all that. I try to keep up with all that. That's all part of my coping strategy, like martial arts, and
nice.
I study
you gotta release
Wing Chun, and
Ooh, my kind of guy. I like it.
Yep.
You gotta go those straight. Yeah, I love it.
Yep.
Nice.
And I do yoga and I do meditation, and I do all that to help myself. And I think one of the best things that we can do is just try to keep up with like eating right and all the dimensions of wellness. So I call spiritual wellness, soul wellness, because a lot of the people that I run into aren't spiritual. Like me at this point in my life, I believe that every like I have dog tags that I had remade, and where it says the religion, I have all on there because I believe they're all real, and I'm no one to say otherwise. Because I'm a human. So
but so in a way, after all this, and I know you had questioned, God and all the destiny and all the stuff that happens, but now you kind of you found some spirituality, and kind of get your head around that, and it helps you to cope with things, a little better with all the other tools that you've mentioned right now.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you, I mean, how is your relationship right now with God, now that you've gone through all this, and whether you found a way to get closer. I mean, many people have different ways to approach, that, and going to church or going to another type of religion. But either way, I think any spirituality can help, kind of get you to a Zen moment, or at least to be a better, aligned with things, and accept certain things in life because of just the way it is.
Right.
So one of the questions I have for you, Charles, is, as a veteran, what would you say to all the veterans out there? Because this is a fact that a lot of veterans come out of the military, and PTSD is always part of that, or even, CPTSD. And, and some of them literally suffer even when they come back. There is no job, there's other things, although there are services, there's opportunities, there's stuff, but some of them, they cannot get back into the system. It's just difficult, especially if they are in too long, right?
Yeah.
Or they see real, tours with real, death and just crazy stuff. I mean, no one can imagine the atrocities of war, right? It's one thing to see them on TV and you see flash, stuff from a distance, but if you're live close, it's not the same, right? And or you come close to it. I mean, in your case, you were literally, the whole tank blew up and you're in it, right?
Yeah.
So, it's not something you comprehend until you're like, sit back, like, did I just survive that, right? But some of that stuff happens, and a lot of people out there, I mean, there are thousands of veterans that actually are suffering for whatever, different traumas, right? But not all of them actually find, a way back, or, not all of them are literally living the life beyond that, right? Some of them actually are not getting the stuff in their life. Some of them are still maybe even homeless. We see a lot of that too, and it's not because of they don't want, they just haven't been able to set themselves into living back into the normal life. What would you tell people? By the way, was there anything that happened to you in that aspect? When you came back, you were good.
I was a homeless veteran.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but
coinciding with my suicide attempt.
And I think those two should not even exist. Those two words. I mean, a veteran who's homeless. I mean, you fight for the country. You do all the stuff. You find yourself in the street, or you find yourself not with the right accommodations or life. I mean, that is all veterans should be like praised and given some stuff. Now, again, maybe I don't know much about this, but you would think that you will be glorified, and that does not always be the case. So you actually came back, and you were not able to have a home. You were actually literally homeless.
Well, I came back in I came back in 96, and then in the year 2000, my uncle and my grandfather passed away a month apart.
Wow.
And
you're not catching a break.
That put me in a tailspin. Very, very bad tailspin. The first thing that hit me was I wasted all this time pushing them away, and I should have been embracing them.
Wow.
And so that ate me up inside, literally. I never went back to, and to this day I don't know why, but I never went back to drugs and alcohol. I was cutting on myself to feel something other than what I was feeling. One night I actually took a bottle of sleeping pills, and luckily a few hours later a friend of mine found me with the words "F you world" carved into my arm. And I was passed out, and he called the paramedics.
That was a suicide attempt.
Yeah, that was my suicide attempt. And that was my letter on my arm.
You just did that and checked out, basically, whatever.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I mean, you mentioned something very powerful. When your grandfather and uncle passed, you wished that you did not push them away and that you were closer. And I think that's also a message that we'd like to bring to people here. Be careful what you wish for, when you're not in the right set of mind, right? Or mindset, rather, because when you're in suffering, you may not know who's really close to you, who really wants the stuff, and you push people away, and then maybe it's too late. if you wait too long, right? In this case,
Mm.
you didn't see it until it was too late, and then you realize, like, wow, I mean, I could have been closer, I could have been that, and again, it just puts a perspective for people to really like value, the folks around them. I think if people are watching and listening right now, it's important to actually put everybody in the right mindset and kind of see like who is in your life, and cherish some of those moments, and maybe put your differences aside, and hopefully see if you can leverage a better relationship, because I think time is valuable, and time is ticking, and the people around us today may not be around us tomorrow, right?
Right.
And maybe, and that's the other thing, most of us, we would push people until it's too late, and then before you know it, like, wow, I didn't have enough time. I wish I could have time, and unfortunately, you can't bring that
Yeah.
time back. And then ultimately, the next thing you were in another trauma here, and then you just decide, like, this is it. I'm not going to do this. Right? It's over.
Right.
But again, we're gonna go back, and now I want to make another smirk about the cat. I mean, I think we've had so many instances of lives right now that I think you beat your cat's life here. So
Probably.
but no jinx there, man. I would say
Right. Knock on wood.
I think as much as the story is just it sounds so horrible from the beginning, the whole part of it, I think, still remains with us, because again, we are having this discussion today, years later. I mean, you mentioned that's 2000, we're in 2023, that's 23 years later.
Yeah.
You've turned that tide back, right? You've turned everything back. So now you were found in really a dead mode, and then you survived it. I'm assuming that's the only time, hopefully, that it happened.
Yep. That's the only time. Yep. And then I was sent to the hospital, and then I was sent from there to a VA hospital, and then from there I was supposed to go to a veterans shelter, but the veterans shelter was full when I got there, so I ended up on the streets for I really don't know how long. I know I remember sleeping in like ATM machines because the booths.
Yeah,
because I still had my my card on me, and I ate out of dumpsters, whatever I could eat, and just to survive. I hung out with the other people just, so I knew I had an idea of what I was doing. And then I found veteran shelters after that. And I spent a few years in veteran shelters. Yeah. And one thing I always tell people about that suicide attempt is, that was like almost 23 years ago. I have a 10-year-old son now. You do the math. If I died back then, he wouldn't be here.
That's right.
I wouldn't be here talking to you, Hurricane. I wouldn't be.
You wouldn't be talking to people, because this message is for people.
Yeah. I wouldn't be talking to all your listeners. I wouldn't be helping as many people as I am with aware recovery care.
And we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But I thank you because I was going to ask, what would you tell people that might entertain committing suicide, and now that you've survived that part, and you realize that was not the way, and I'm sure that wasn't as easy as it sounds right now, because it took you some moment to actually, and again, you were out there, just living on the streets, and that's the other thing. I mean, how was that life? I mean, I'm sure it was not a life that anybody would wish for, but you did survive. I mean, the key word here is survive, and we've been talking about survival from the get-go. I mean, you're really a natural born survivor, if we want to call it that way. And I mean, it sounds like light, but it's not. I'm not making fun of it. It's really not everybody has that ability. I mean, most people would have given up a long time, and maybe literally not just taking pills. They would have done it differently. I mean, it's not something that we want to even hear about, but life throws things at us all the time, and nobody knows what that is. But when you face those things, I mean, it is tough choices that you have to make, and sometimes you just lose. The whole mind is not always 100%, and therefore you can make those rush decisions. But what I love what you said is that you have a son today, and at the time you didn't think about that, but now you would literally go back in time and switch turn off that person. Like you literally just not even attempt that because you would have known like I am blessed today.
Yeah.
But you don't know that I think that the picture that we want to tell people here or the depict to people is that you don't know today is bad, but tomorrow is hopeful.
Yeah,
Things
exactly.
can change, and many examples in life where it started so bad and then it became and the opposite. We have people who had it all good and then things happen and then they just either committed suicide, and we've seen a lot of suicide recently, even in celebrities, and it sometimes it doesn't even make sense, right? And I think there's a whole combination of things, whether it's the society we live in. I think also the practices we have, maybe the lack of religion. There's so many things, and it's everybody's different. Also, there is help. I mean, Dr. Ham and I, we have this recurring, event in every month where we talk about psychiatry and he gives real answers to people's questions. You know, there are things we cannot change, and there is a way to cope with things. But again, he's always hopeful, and we want to give people hope, and we want to give people some motivation to want to live, and be able to cope with things. And there is help, and I think that's the other thing, that as difficult as it sounds, there is help, and today you are helping people. And again, let's talk about that. You literally, first of all, you wrote books. So let's talk about the books, and then we also want to talk about the work you do today, because you're actually taking this and helping many people, not one, not two, couple digits of people that you actually are helping move away from addiction and to becoming better. So let's talk about the books now. So all this stuff happened. You've survived all this. You started a new leaf, and really you changed your life back around, right?
Right.
You said you even bought the lot, that you had. And so how did that turn, by the way? Like, how did you make that turn? I mean, from literally living on the street to coming back, you went back to the shelters, and eventually you made your way out of all that.
Yeah.
And then you became, part of society, I guess, in a normal way, if you want to come. I mean, it's the word normal here does not even apply, but in what we think is normal. And then you change your life, where now you had a family, you had a child, you've gotten a job, and you've been trying to help and even wrote books. How did you make that transition?
Well, I always tell people that the homeless shelters and being homeless, that was like my crucible. That was my turning point in my life. Like seeing the other homeless veterans in that situation showed me that I wasn't alone. And then from there on, I learned that I actually had PTSD, because from 6 years old to 30, whatever, however old I was undiagnosed. I didn't know what was wrong with me. And that screwed me up more than anything, I think, was not knowing. But once I knew,
or you're in denial because you just not accept. Nobody wants to, like, I'm sick, I got this problem, I have trauma. We don't want to just think about that. And you're right. At 30, you still are like trying to figure it out, but you did, though.
Yeah, but once I knew it's like going into war. Once you know your enemy, you know how to defeat them.
It's fair.
And once I knew my enemy, PTSD, at that point, I knew how to cope with it. I learned how to deal with it and live with it. And I learned everything I possibly could about it. And then I started a nonprofit that I don't run anymore, but I had a nonprofit called Karma. Long story short, that ran into running programs for different places around my area, talking about PTSD, talking about positive thinking and wellness, talking about situational awareness. And once my son was born, I wasn't making the money that I wanted to. So I had to make a choice. And my choice was to put those 3 programs into books. and then go out and get a real job. And so I did that, and then I went into working in the mental health field. Um, I started out with helping people, like I think my first mental health job was a place called Seven Hills, and it was helping people with like autism, etc., acclimate into the community.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's what I did in my first three books, and then I wrote four more after that. And I'm working on recovering those books right now, and I just finished up with my my trauma book, and I just released that one again.
What, what's
Re-released
what's the name of the book?
Operation Tip, TIPP. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I want to thank you because I mean, the fact that you've again, it's a lesson for all of us. I mean, despite all the stuff, when you realized what it was and you made that turn, you didn't just, you were not selfish. You wanted to help others, and you put all that experience that you had, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the solutions, and how you were able to do
Mm-hmm.
this, and turn around and you put it into books where books are for life and eternal, right? So people can actually learn from them. And I think you even started doing the podcast now. So that's the other part, because again, these things are evergreen all over the world, right? People can actually
Yeah, yeah.
hear your story and learn from you, and hopefully, they have a better way. Because some people may be losing hope right now, and maybe listening to this, like, oh, there is hope. I can do this. I can change. I can do even more. I can contribute and be more, to society and helping other people that may be suffering. And I love what you said when you were in the veteran shelter and you saw other veterans. And by the way, we talk about veterans here because that's your world, but it is
Mm,
happening outside of the veterans world too. I mean, there are many people that are going through this, different things from economics and family matters, whatever, but they still are either in other shelters or whatever. But no matter what the circumstances are, I think at the end of the day, if you are going through, some sort of a trauma or PTSD, or you've had bad
mm,
experiences in life, know that there is help. And I think that's the message we want also to give today. There are
exactly.
there are a lot of services, and a lot of people who actually have been through these situations themselves are giving back and hopefully helping people to not experience the same. And that's actually good to know, because you're not alone out there. And maybe in the States, in Canada, maybe in the Western world, we have a lot more services, but in some parts of the world, maybe it's less. But now with technology, with the audios, with the books and stuff, I mean, you can do Zooms, you can do stuff. So even if you're in a remote area or a country where you may not have the help, you can actually seek the help. And a lot of us, and some of these things are for free and available. And the people that do this work, such as yourself, they do it because they love what they do, and they do it because they want to give back. They do it because they want to help other people not go through what they've been through themselves. And that's rich, because you can't get that.
Mm,
As much as I want to help, I haven't the same experiences. I'm not going to be able to give. I can only give the stuff that I've learned myself, right? My expertise. But your expertise is different. So what you give to people is something that, like if I say something, someone like, well, I mean, you watch a couple of movies, read a couple of books, you're an expert. No, in your case, no one can take that away from you, because it's your life. You've been through this.
right, right. Yeah.
It's reality for you, and they cannot deny that, right? They can say, oh, what do you know? Well, I know a lot, right? Because I've been there. And that's the other thing. Like, being
Mm,
on somebody's shoes is not the same if you're not. So the advice comes in a higher, respect, right? I think you have that. So now you wrote the
yep.
books and you started the job, but now your job still is helping people.
Oh, yeah,
Now,
definitely.
now let's
Yep.
talk about that. What is the job consist of? And I know you've given back again to addiction. So let's talk about that.
Mm. Well, after my cousin passed away, he was into heroin,
Oh wow.
and he passed away in 2016. He he disappeared on 4th of July, and then I'm a trained private investigator, and we had another licensed private investigator looking all over the city for him. And he was found on New Year's Eve in the woods by a hunter and his dog. And they had to do dental recognition to identify the body.
Wow.
And yeah, and they had to well, they told us that there was lime around the body, so his body was put there. His lime is there to disguise the smell,
Mm.
and so I decided to go into to dedicate the rest of my life into working with addiction recovery, and that's when I started working for a few different companies, like detoxes and whatnot. And I never felt like I had enough time with the clients. Like maybe the most time I had with a client was a month that I could actually try to help them. And then last year, around January, I got a phone call from a place called Aware Recovery Care,
Mm.
which is an IHAT program. It stands for In-Home Addiction Treatment.
Mhm.
And they have their clients for a whole year. And we what we do is we see them once a week,
Mhm.
maybe sometimes twice a week, depending on the level of care that they're at, because they taper off during the year. And yeah, we talk about their recovery. We meet them at Dunkin' Donuts. We meet them at their house. I have a client tomorrow that I'm going to play pool with.
Nice.
Yeah. We just we like we show them that we're there for them. And we have our stats are way above anyone else's. It's just phenomenal. And we're in a few different states, a lot on the East Coast. We just got into Kentucky. You would have to actually look on Aware Recovery Care to see all the states that we're in, because
Mhm.
we're always fluctuating. We're always growing,
Mhm. Mhm.
which is another phenomenal part about it. But yeah, it's just I never run out of good things to say about them. They're I have I just feel blessed to be a part of this agency because of the help that we're able to give people.
So you meet with people. So you have basically a case load, and you work with
Yeah,
a certain number of people,
I have about 16 people that I work with right now. Me
and
and
so
me and a team.
okay. Now the process is you help them, you talk to them, you kind of support them through coming out of addiction, and
Yes,
this could be alcohol, drugs, all the
yes,
above,
yep,
right? So
yep.
so doesn't matter specifically as long as they and these people have to enroll in this program, or is it voluntary? I mean, how does that work for people to join this program?
They enroll into the program, and like I said, they're with us for a year, and I have clients on both alcohol and drug. And the great thing about it too, is we have an alumni program
Okay,
that
so
we
people
we
can help.
developed.
Yeah.
Then afterwards, after you're done with the year, you can come back and be a part of that alumni program. And still, it's like an AA meeting, but it's all people within Aware, all people that went through the same recovery that you've gone through. And yeah, it's just phenomenal.
So, Chuck, is there a reason why is it a year long, or is that like how long it takes to get really people in a better place, or it just that's the way it takes so they can get really through the whole I guess change.
Well, it takes longer to go through the change, but well, every recovery is different, I'll say.
Sure, sure.
But the first year is the most crucial because then you get a good footing in on the first year.
And then you have the chance to be an alumni, and then obviously that helps you also continue in a different light. You're not really receiving, you're helping and sharing, and I think that also gives you, because when you talk about something, it's
Yeah,
certainly helping as well. So I
yeah,
mean, that
and
gives them
you can
another
even
shot.
work for alumni. I mean, you can even work for Aware too. After that year,
Oh, okay.
if you show that you're serious about your recovery and all that, you can even work for us too. Yeah.
Listen, I mean, it looks like it's admirable work, and you've helped a lot of people, and I'm sure some of these people are grateful and thankful for all the stuff, because you get them out of bad places, and potential suicide and potential other things, right? I mean, again, we've talked in this hour in a lot of real difficult scenarios in life, which most people try not to talk about or try to avoid even thinking about. But unfortunately, it's reality, and it is real, and people out there suffering. Doesn't matter what the backgrounds are, doesn't matter where you are. Shit is happening, and real things are happening, and people are suffering. From the childhood to an older age, and there's no discrimination here. I think it takes everybody. It doesn't matter where, who, your background, your economics and socioeconomics, doesn't matter. It can hit anyone, anytime, and all ages. And unfortunately, to your point, I mean, being aware of the name, I mean, it stands out. I mean, you said yourself, when you got aware about the PTSD, that's when things change. It is important to be aware. And if you don't, I mean, if you even doubt, ask. There is services. There are people out there. And there's programs, free programs. I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming this is free for people to actually join,
It's
right?
through insurance.
Oh, so again,
Yeah.
But insurance, I mean, I'm sure all insurance companies want people to get better, and and that's and you're right. There's behavioral health, programs that are under all the carriers, and I think that is a great. And by the way, there's other services that are actually government or
definitely,
that are available even without insurance for those that don't have insurance. And there's state programs and federal programs, and there's even volunteer programs out there that actually can help, even through consultations or free consultation and things like that. So there's so much work out there that's being done, and I mean, you are at the helm of it, and you are working and changing lives and giving back. And now, just how does that feel? I mean, from where you were to today, turning lives around and helping people. I mean, that's got to be a super feeling that I don't think we can even fathom what that is, because I'm just talking about with you, and I'm feeling good about it. I mean, imagine you who are doing the work. I mean, I'm sure you can see a difference in people's eyes, and you can see the results that are out there. I mean, real. It's real.
It feels great. I mean, like something that The Rock said once. He said that you keep stuff in the forefront. Your twin brother there. Yeah.
we had that joke earlier. So for our people watching us, I've been told there's some resemblance. I mean, I don't look like he does or have his money, or his charisma. But I think I love The Rock myself, and it's amazing. I mean, he is a great guy, and you and I, we had the joke about can he run for president? Would he want to run for president? I mean, that could be the case, and hopefully he would. I don't know, but it will give a whole different spin on things, in the White House. But again, we're not into politics, but he is actually a great person, and he does give a lot, and he helps a lot of people. So it's amazing what he does out there. So,
well, like he said though, once in one of his interviews, he keeps his past. The $7 production. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about his production agency, the $7 production. He started it with $7 in his pocket. And he keeps all of that in the forefront, like I do. I could just bury this in the past and forget about it, but I just feel that if I did, I wouldn't be,
effective.
Yeah, and I'm here for a reason.
Oh yeah, you gotta see it in front of you, because it keeps you going. I mean, that's what keeps you motivated right now.
Yeah,
it's to help people not go through the stuff you've gone. And you're right. I mean, in the case of The Rock, it's the same thing. Like, these are the things that make him who he is today.
Yeah,
and it's funny, because if we take it to the other extreme, people are doubted. People are sometimes are being made fun of at different stages, and people don't believe in you, and in all different levels, right? In career paths and thing. And then when you do your stuff and you succeed, and you got to keep that focus, and sometimes those are the things that you put ahead of you, that you can just keep your eye on the prize, eyes on the prize, as they say, right? And that can help you, whatever the drive is. if you can put it to your point on the front and just keep at it, and that's just going to keep you going, and that's actually powerful stuff, and it works.
It's like I don't know if you ever seen one of those Spider-Man movies where Spider-Man says, or Peter Parker says, if I have these powers and I don't do anything about it, I'm no better than the bad guys.
That's
And
right.
I've gone through this. And if I don't use it to help people, then I'm no better than the people that are hurting people.
Charles,
That's how I feel.
Charles, you know why you're here, right?
I'm here to help people. Yep. I'm here to make a difference.
Listen, those cat lives were not there for no reason. I think you really were meant to do this, and despite the suffering and that you had to go through and all the trauma, at the end of the day, this is meant to be, and it is here for a reason, and you are turning and changing lives. And even this message today, this show and the shows that you've done and with other podcasters, are a true resource for people, and they can actually get motivated. And I think at the end of the day, like I said, we had hope today. We know that there's resources, that it's never too late, that you can still turn things around, and life can be brighter, and you can have a life when you think that it's the end. Maybe not. I mean, now you have a child, and that child's going to grow and probably have a great success and life. And I'm sure you're giving him all the stuff that you didn't have at that age, and you support him because it's different, because now you know that you want him to have the best life, and he might be also another contributor on this world, because that's the thing, you don't know what you're planting right now, but all the stuff you had, like to your point, you put it on the floor, on the front, and it keeps you going, because that's the motivation. And I love what you said. I mean, the example of Spider-Man is like, you're not any different from the other guys if you don't use your given gifts, right? And those are gifts that not everybody has, by the way. And not everybody can. Like I said, even if we try to do our job. I mean, I'm doing it through this format, but I am not in your shoes. I was not in your shoes, and I cannot give the same examples. I can talk about your example, but it's never going to be the same coming from someone, because you've been through it. You've been through addiction. You've been through trauma. You've been to all kind of stuff that most of us may hear about in stories or read about, but never experienced. And and by the way, that gives you also diversity, because you can talk to a lot of different people suffering from different things, and you can relate to all these elements and help them in their own way. Like, well, I'm in addiction. Well, guess what? I can talk about that. I've been there. I lost my cousin to heroin. And you can go to real examples where people are like, wow. And then when they hear your story, you're like, okay, I think I can do better. I mean, life can give me more, and that's in itself a powerful thing. So again, God bless you, man, and that is powerful stuff that you have out there. Listen,
thank you.
You've done it. You're here, and again, please continue doing the great work that you're doing and helping people. I think it's very simple. We go through this life, and to your point, at the end of the day, it's either we leave an imprint and we leave a legacy or not. And I think we all are meant for a reason in this world, and some of us have the ability to make a difference and make a change. And to your point, if we don't do about it and we don't do anything about it, it's just a waste of time. But if we do something about it, then actually you're contributing to society, and that changes the dynamic of life, and maybe one life can change for better, and that's a big achievement right there. So we're coming to the end.
Save one.
Yes, sir. One at a time, right? And if you can do more, why not? But let me ask you, I mean, just we're coming to the end of the show, but what would be your advice to people, in general, like things that you will tell people not to do or to do, just to live their life no matter what happens in their life?
As bad as things are right now, don't give up hope. I know, things with coronavirus, with the shootings, with the war, with, a lot of people are calling it Armageddon. Don't give up. Do the best you can to prepare for whatever, day by day, and just live the best you can day by day. And that's all any of us can do or ask for. And if you do need help, go get help. And for the veterans, I can't go without saying this. There's a phenomenal. I keep on using that word phenomenal. There's a phenomenal agency out there called Blue Cord Patriots, and they help a lot of veterans battle the VA, which we could do an hour podcast on itself. But battling the VA with their service-connected pensions, and the guy Sean Gavitt that is in charge of that is a miracle worker. For like well over a decade, I was non-service connected, only making so much from the VA until I met him, and now I'm 90% looking at 100% service connected for the tank explosion and this and that. And so if there's any veterans out there that are battling the VA, because it's for some reason it's worse than actually going into battle at times, seek out the help of Blue Cord Patriots.
Is this a national agency or in just Massachusetts?
It's a national agency. Yeah,
okay.
bluecordpatriots.com.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right. I'll probably use that and put that on the description to the show. So for the veterans, and if they need help, they can do it. And again, I mean, I know there's other services, and again, I'm not an expert in what the VA administration has, but I mean, there is some of theirs, and there's some of outside assistance. But again, any help is good help, and seeking help is important. And thank you for sharing that, because I mean, we again giving back in that state, that's the key. And there are two types of people sometimes. Some people that go through bad things and they want everybody else to suffer, which I think those are the few. But there's a lot of people that go through suffering and they don't want people to go through stuff, or they go through success and they want more people to get success. And I believe that the world has more of those second ones, and let just create more of them out there, because no matter what you have, if you have good experiences, why not share? If you have bad experiences, you can share how you moved away from them and turn things back in better, and help people maybe not go through those things. At the end of the day, whatever the case may be, it's still a positive outcome, and you're helping people. And I think that's a difference in how we can all contribute. And one day at a time, one person at a time, we can make that. It is in itself a success, and you don't know which life you've touched, in whatever. I mean, this show is going to go out there. I don't know who's going to listen to it. I don't know who's going to watch it. And maybe someone that's going to listen to it, not going to be directly impacted, but maybe they share with somebody else who actually has that, and that's all there is. And at the end of the day, it's just knowledge that's available for people to actually utilize, and hopefully if they use it properly, and it can make a difference in their life. And we just do our best here, right? We try.
Right. We can do.
That's it. Well, again, by the way, so for your services, are there? You said they're all over the East Coast, so that means people can actually apply and work. So what would be, where would they go for your services?
Aware Recovery Care, awarerecoverycare.com.
Oh, okay, that's simple.
Yep.
All right,
yep.
good. So yep.
Yeah, my website is lifelongexperience.net. That's got all my books, and I'm actually starting. I think it's open now. I'm going to be starting a merchandise shop for inspirational items.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's going to be on my lifeexperience.net.
So that's your personal site for your own work.
For my own work, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, again, we do want people to go to that as well. So we'll have those three. If you don't mind, I'll send you an email and send me all the sites connections, so I can put them up, in the description as well, so other people can have them. Okay. Yeah. So, well, listen, I think we've put in more than the hour here, but it was worth every single second of it. I wish we had more time. I really want to thank you for sharing your life, for sharing the work you do, and also I want to just congratulate you for the work you do, because despite all the difficulties you faced in life, you were able to change things around for you, and now you're changing for others. And again, that's commendable. So thank you. And for people out there, it is important to be grateful to the little things we have, as little as they are. Sometimes, things can make a difference. And we have to be grateful for people that are out there that are doing and making a difference, such as Charles. So Charles, thank you again, from the bottom of my heart, and our listeners hopefully can relate to that as well.
You're welcome, Hurricane. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the help with all the podcasts, helping me.
Well, you got
spread the word.
You got a message and a story and a lot of good stuff out there that's well deserved to be out there. So thank you for being on it. I mean, not everybody is willing to actually go on and share these things, but you're making a difference. All right. Well, folks, thank you for being with us, for listening, for watching in. And hopefully this show can help you change, no matter what your circumstances are, can make you, change for better and give you the hope that life can turn and become better for you, no matter what happens. And that being said, I'm Hurricane H. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. Bye for now.